Hi, everybody. I'm Charlie Ekstrom of Stanford Beach Volleyball, and you're watching or listening to College Volleyball Weekly Beach Edition.
I'm Alana Rennie of University of Arizona Beach Volleyball, and you're watching or listening to College Volleyball Weekly Beach Edition.
Hi, I'm Kate Privett of TCU Beach Volleyball, and you're watching or listening to College Volleyball Weekly Beach Edition.
You've tapped or clicked in to College Volleyball Weekly on Viral Volley Media. Now here's your host, Rob Online.
Good day, everyone, and it's episode 1 of College Volleyball Weekly Beach Top 20 on screen. We've got our rookie on the screen, Kate Privett of TCU, formerly of Florida State, and Charlie Ekstrom, the longtime tree or Stanford Cardinal. Ladies, thanks for coming back on again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, literally always a pleasure. You know this.
Well, I love one of the posts I saw this week already, and it was Mads Fitzpatrick on FaceTime with Kate on screen there, talking about great memories, and now the connection. I should have known that there's a little insider information going on between
Yeah, we always FaceTime. You know, we talk about, some volleyball, but we talk about a lot of things. It's fun.
Well, I wanted to go into week 1, and there were a lot of duels, a lot of matches, a lot of sets, a lot of news. So I don't even know where to begin. And we were talking about that before we jumped on here. So let's just start with some milestones that have been accomplished. Charlie Ekstrom on the screen, 60 career wins as a Cardinal in her 19th year. No, but great accomplishment for you, Charlie. And you didn't want to talk about it, but I was going to talk about it anyways. But where do you stand now? 60 career wins put you where in the Stanford annals?
Yeah, so I tallied up a couple more since then. So I'm at 64 now. And that puts me as the sole holder of the number 2 overall all-time wins leader spot. I did say that I wasn't going to talk about it, but
hey, when something big happens, we got to talk about it, even if it involves you guys. So, and with that, let's jump over to your coach who received his 100th career win, Andrew Fuller, who is responsible for getting me in touch with you to come on to College Volleyball Weekly 3 years ago.
Which I think is absolutely hilarious. And I think if I was just awkward about my response there, you should have seen Andrew when we were celebrating him today, because our 2 wins today as a program put him at 100 exactly. And we put it up on the board. We had a little ball for him, and he looked so flabbergasted. It was the funniest thing ever. We gave him the ball and he's like, "This is for you guys." So we're like, "No, we made it for you." It was the funniest thing ever. He's like, "I don't know what to do about this. I had no idea." We were like, "Congrats."
He just wanted to get the dubs today. That's all that mattered.
Exactly.
So shifting milestones, Kate Privett as well, 100 career wins over 2 programs, which is phenomenal, and just missing out on a natty last year. But still a great story for Florida State. Describe the journey of getting that hundo.
Yeah, I've had a lot of great partners along the way, so it's been nice. I got 96 of my wins at Florida State, so I have to give it's mostly Florida State. I love TCU, but so yeah, I had some great partners, and I don't know, it's exciting. I feel like in my past 4 years, I don't know, it's just nice to feel accomplished, I guess. But I have a lot to do this season, so yeah.
I know. Well, we're only 1 week in, and we know that's actually a great segue into some other stuff that's going on, other milestones. For Stetson, head coach Christina Hernandez, 200th win for her in her 10th season, a 6-time ASUN champion and 4-time ASUN coach of the year. Solid for Stetson. Christina interviewed her in the preview show. Phenomenal personality. And love what she's doing out there in Stetson. But from there, let us jump into the play that we saw this week. I'll toss it out to you, ladies, but which one do you want to talk about? Because there's so many out there this week. Let's go, Kate. What do you want to talk about?
I really liked following along with the Hawaii tournament that Charlie was at with Stanford. I was interested to see everybody's lineups. I feel like Charlie, y'all's team didn't switch around as much, but I feel like UCLA did they have a different lineup like every time?
It was, so I think honestly, most teams like at the tournament, like that we saw had like some semblance of switching. We stayed consistent at our 1s and 2s
Okay.
and 4s, but we had mixing at our 3s and 5s due to some illnesses and just general mixing because it's early in the season. UCLA, I'd say they did an more mixing than we did because
Yeah.
like, I mean, UCLA is a very deep team, but I'd say similar, like they had a similar ones, like almost their same ones the most of the time. They mixed up at their 2s, at their 4s, kept their 5s. I think their 3s might have mixed up a little bit too, but there was a lot of mixing. I mean, Hawaii mixed up their whole lineup too. Like their 4s and their 3s were kind of flipping back and forth, but their 5s changed and I don't know. There was a lot of lineup mixing around to that tournament.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time to do it just to see how your teams compare to other teams and to get people experience. And yeah, like Charlie said, UCLA has a really deep team, so it's probably hard for Stein and Jenny to figure out who they want to get in there. But I had fun watching that tournament, and I think y'all were the first ones to start on Thursday, so I feel like a lot of teams hadn't started yet, so all eyes were really watching then because I mean, we weren't playing till Saturday. So yeah, that was probably my favorite tournament to follow along.
Well, it's a great launching pad for all the information I've got here, but one of the key matches was Stanford, Hawaii. That was a 7-9 pole matchup versus what was Hawaii? Listen, I didn't get theirs on here. I think they were 10.
9-10. I think they're
9-10. But it was a barn burner, 3-2. Walk us through how that happened, Charlie.
So it was 3-2 both times that we played them. We were actually able to edge ahead this time around, but it was definitely a little bit, we were really excited to get another chance because last year we actually had almost an identical matchup in that same tournament where we played Hawaii. We beat them 3-2 the first day. And then the second day we lost to them 3-2. We might have even beat them for 4-1 the first day, but I think it was 3-2. And then we lost to them in the playoff rounds of the tournament the second day in the semis, which knocked us out of the tournament. We were done, go home, bad taste in our mouth. So this year, winning at 3-2 the second day, honestly, I think that win was better for us than the first day even was. The first day like came down to the line. It came down to the 3s. The duel was tied 2-2. It came down to the third set. And our 3s ended up pulling it off. But then when we came back and played Hawaii the next day, our 3s blocker, Emma Morris, went down with sickness. And so she was not in our lineup. We pulled in one of our freshmen, Line Anderson is her name. She's from Sweden. And it was like her first matches of college was when she was thrown into the 3s with not very much practice with her partner at the time, Taylor Wilson. And they ended up being the duel decider for us on that Saturday match. And they won in 3 and they won in 3 pretty solidly, but they lost the first set. And so I remember I was in the third set with Kate Riley, my partner. The two of us, we were fighting off points and we knew that it was between one of us, but we had no idea what the duel score was. So we're like, okay, we got to keep fighting. And then all of a sudden we hear like game Stanford duel called. And we looked at each other, we're like, no way. Like, that's the coolest thing ever because all of the points in the duel came from freshman pairs that day.
Wow.
That was pretty awesome for us.
Well, speaking of freshman pairs, your number 4s pair of Ashley Vincent, Kelly Bellardi, 6-0 on that week. And I'm sure they played today, but I didn't get the result handy. But wow, some freshman phenoms already on the roster, huh?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I was saying this earlier and I think it's so funny. Those two, they crack me up because they're like two of the most phenomenal volleyball players, but it is wild. Like they had about 3 days of practice together prior to playing these matches. So none of us really knew how it was going to go. They did not drop a single set in Hawaii. They were 6-0, 12-0. Today they bumped up. They played one match at the 3s and one at the 4s. They went 2-0, 4-0 on the day. They didn't drop a set. So they are currently 8-0, 16-0 on their collegiate careers. And they're just playing phenomenal volleyball. I honestly, no shots fired at any of the pairs that are pair of the week currently because everybody fought off and earned their spots. But I do think that Kelly and Ashley might have gotten robbed out of a even potentially national pair of the week. because of the fact that they did not drop a set and they are two freshmen. And I was just really impressed by how well they handled themselves that first weekend.
All hate mail, charlie.ekstrom@gmail.com, please. Not me.
Not my email, which is even better. You can go ahead and send it to that one.
Well, let's go to the other matches there. And it was the Outrigger Duke Kahanamoku Beach Classic is what that tournament was. UCLA ended up winning out, and it looked like they're pretty strong, as we were all talking about earlier before jumping on, but it looked Maggie Boyd, Lexi Denberg at the ones went 5-0. Sophie Moore and Tessa Van Winkle 4-0, and then they switched their threes up a bit with Perry heading with actually Perry with Tessa again in the threes or in one of the duels, and they went 1-0. And at the fives, Haley Hallgren and Riley Powers went 5-0, and then they switched it up a little bit with Nellie Muskowski and Riley, who went 1-0. With that tournament, you had Lexi Denberg on all tournament team, along with Charlie Ekstrom and Maggie Boyd. I didn't get the name of the Stephen F. Austin athlete, though, because it wasn't on the release. You're muted, I think, Charlie.
I was not. There wasn't a Stephen F. Austin team member on the all tournament team, but it was myself. I think I can name it off. I was named best blocker. Lexi was MVP, well earned. She kicked butt this weekend. Maggie Boyd was the best defender of the tournament. Best offense / best attacker was Brooke Van Sickle of Hawaii. And final award is the Aloha Spirit Award, the Duke Kahanamoku Aloha Spirit Award, which was awarded to Holly Hare of St. Mary's.
Okay, there we go. Well, we got that all settled, but from the conclusion of that tournament, what do we know about these teams, and how could that impact the season? And I wanted to get your thoughts, Kate, being that you don't get to see them too regularly. You will see some of them, but any indicator of what could be?
Sorry, I was muted. I think we're seeing from, like we talked about, UCLA, a lot of depth in the lineup. They have a lot of people that can come in and out, whatever they need. I think Stanford, we're seeing Stanford's always great, but as Charlie and you guys mentioned, like those freshmen, I think that's really big to have those freshmen contributing to the team so early on, because I mean, it's promising for this year, but it's also really promising for the program in the future. And then Hawaii, I just think Hawaii is always really gritty. I haven't actually played Hawaii since my freshman year, but they're always just like a gritty, scrappy team. They're good at playing in the wind, a little bit unconventional. So I'm excited to see what else they do this year. I feel like that tournament was really good, fun to watch. And then I think there will be a lot of changes in all of the teams' lineups, and I'm excited to see what the lineups look like by the end of season.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the tournament that you were at, Kate, TCU 4-0 this weekend dual wise, but fill us in with some of the details here.
Okay. So we went to Houston. We played Texas A&M Corpus Christi, which they made it to nationals last year. They won their conference, the Sun Belt Conference. Mm-hmm. And then Central Arkansas was there. They were super scrappy. And then HBU was also there, and that's another scrappy team. So it was cool to see. These are more local teams to Texas. There's not very many Texas teams. So, I mean, Central Arkansas is obviously not from Texas, but it's fun to play the other Texas teams. And it was good. It was just a good first weekend for our team. We got some wins under our belt. We got to work through a few kinks, and we're ready. We're ready for season.
Now, did Coach Hector mix the lineup at all?
Yes, we mixed up our fives, I think, every game. And then the last game we mixed up pretty much all of our pairs. So yeah.
You guys didn't even lose a single dual point this last weekend. I was looking at the results here next to me. Pure domination. Looks like the Sandy Frogs are coming to play.
I was gonna say Miss Humble over here. I was checking. I was like, I feel like we're missing something here. I'm thinking that it was a series of sweeps, which is awesome.
Yeah, the
telling
Sandy
my own.
Frogs played good this weekend.
Did good
And
enough for you to
we
get
got
their
a lot of
100
different
career
people.
wins, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Heck
that was fun.
Remarkable accomplishment, Kate. I'm excited that you're actually here now to celebrate it and to get it out there as well, because
Me too. Thank you.
that's the whole point of us doing this, is to get beach volleyball out there. So, and the athletes and so forth. But congratulations to TCU and to Kate, and looking forward to what the Sandy Frogs will be doing here in the upcoming weeks. But we still have some other things that happened here. Let's jump to Georgia State, also undefeated this weekend. But the way they got it done this weekend, there are some tight ones, but their 3s and 5s took care of business. And you had Angel and Bella Ferrari, which we talked about a little bit. They started off in the 2s in the first 2 duels and jumped into the 1s, but they're undefeated still. So amazing pair. And I've been putting on all the threads, like, I cannot wait to see this team play in person. Because from what I believe is Elena or someone was sharing last week or 2 weeks ago, that they block, they pull, they play scrappy defense. And I'm like, they're 5-4, 5-5. So thoughts on Georgia State, Charlie?
Yeah, I think Georgia State, I was really excited to see them coming out this year, because they were kind of my personal fan favorite team of last year. With them, they were the upset queens of the NCAA tournament last year. They upset TCU pre-Kate being there, but Georgia State, they were on fire at the end of last season, and the Ferrari twins are a name that is not unfamiliar to our mouths. They were absolutely insane last year, but them moving up in the lineup and still showing that they can be, it's funny to call them a powerhouse team, because again, they're such a small team that's scrappy, but they just get their job done. I would label them as a powerhouse because they just know how to get the job done, which is really, really cool out of them.
Yeah. Kate, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Georgia State. They're going to be at the tournament we're at this weekend. And as we talked about, the Ferrari twins, they're great. I'm excited to see the rest of their lineup, and Beth always has them ready. So that's actually our first duel that we're playing on Saturday. So I'll let y'all know how it goes next week.
Any internal streams happening that you're aware of, or is that only for family members?
I don't know. I know TCU live streams at home, but we're in Tampa, so I don't know if their courts have a live stream. But if they do, I'll text y'all.
We'll get it out there, and I'll put it on the threads and social.
Okay.
So, good stuff though. Angel and Bella Ferrari, Georgia State. Some good stuff coming from that program. Let's jump over to USC. And what I think is interesting is that USC, the 1s and 3s are getting it done. And you go, who's playing at the number 1s? If you're playing, they're like, oh my gosh, you got Kraft and you got Maple to play against. I'm sure Coach Dan will say, oh, they didn't play clean ball. I watched quite a bit of it, and I didn't really see any errors. And they used to play together in juniors and early on in some USA U19s. I'm like, these girls have got it. So thoughts on SC and what they're doing so far this season? We'll start with you this time, Kate.
As you mentioned, SC has a great 1s team. Everybody knows Megan Kraft. She's been dominating the 1s ever since she was a freshman, and Delaney Maple is one of the best defenders. So it's really cool to finally see them together again, because I feel like the past couple of years, we were all waiting for the reunion. So that's cool to see. And then I also feel like SC's playing a lot of freshmen. They had at the 4s, they had Gabby Walker. She played both games, but then they also had another freshman, Mabin, from Texas. And then I think they have a freshman at the 3s and the 5s too. So they're playing 3 or 4 freshmen every game. So, that's cool to see that, just all those freshmen getting experience. And I'm excited to see them continue to play, what changes they make in their lineup. Yeah,
this Mabin Thomas you're referring to, the other freshman at the 3s, is playing with the graduates, and it's Madison White, the team of Maddies, Madison White and Madison Shields. So, and they looked really good as well. And Gabby Walker was doing some great work also. They lost a tight one though to Long Beach State, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. Charlie, thoughts on USC at number 4, I believe they are.
Kate, did you have one more thing to add there?
I think on the 5s, a freshman, Delaney Carl, is also playing with the graduate student, Ashlyn Rasnick Pope from LSU. So it's cool that they're getting the experience from the graduates when they're freshmen. So I think that's a good little combo they have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think going off of that, I think with USC, I feel like this is the first year that we're really seeing like a lot of fresh faces in the USC lineup. I mean, historically, they get a decent amount of grad transfers, but they also we have the familiar faces, I feel like, that always come in, and we still have the very familiar faces of the Norse twins, Audrey and Nicole, and with Megan and Delaney. Like those are 4 players that have, I think those are the 4 returning players out of USC's NCAA championship winning lineup last year. And so we know that those 4 are seasoned vets to the program, are going to get their jobs done. But I think it's cool coming in and seeing some freshmen and seeing some 5th-year transfers who are not necessarily as familiar to the USC program, but coming in and being able to make a difference. The one thing that I will say is that USC's 2 wins, they're 2-0, but they were both 3-2 wins. And so I think that I'm intrigued to see where USC goes if the lineup stays the same, if the lineup adjusts, because GCU and Long Beach State, they're both very talented teams, but I think those are, it's awesome that USC edged ahead, but it's definitely showing that this national championship winning program might be less unbeatable than they've been historically. And so I'm excited. We face them this weekend. They're our second match of the day on Saturday. And so I know that we're coming out guns blazing, ready for
They're
this.
going to play this video clip on their board to motivate them, right?
I mean, hey, I have nothing but an incredible amount of respect for all of the program that USC is. And like I was saying, they've done some fantastic things. They have some awesome little combos. Like you were saying, Kate, with the freshman 5th-year combos, I think that that's one of the cutest combos that there possibly could be, because you have this seasoned vet to NCAA beach volleyball coming in with this super fresh face and a freshman who's got a lot of talent. So USC's got a lot of options to work for. It's just a matter of what they're going to put out this weekend and in the weekends to come.
Yeah. Looking at one of the other teams that kind of turned heads in week 1, Stetson taking down number 12, preseason number 12, FAU. I don't get to see a lot of them. I'm hoping that you guys are familiar with what Christina Hernandez does with her program. I just see the box scores and all that, but it looks like they're doing some pretty phenomenal things, being that she has been the 10 season, 6-time ASUN champion and 4-time coach of the year. They actually know how to win. So any thoughts on Stetson and what they did in week 1, and whoever wants to take a stab?
So I've played Stetson a lot the past 4 years. Obviously, Florida State, Stetson, they're easy drive and really close to each other, so it's easy to play. And they're just a very scrappy, hardworking team. I know they have their ones player, Shay Henson. She's been on the ones for a couple years, and she's really been killing it. But yeah, they won against good schools. So I'm really excited to see what they continue to do. But they're always when we play them, we were okay, we gotta turn it on. You shouldn't sleep on them. And as we saw, they almost upset UCLA at the national championships last year. I know they beat USC one year, so they know how to turn it on at the right time. So I'm excited to watch them this season.
Yeah. How about you, Charlie? Anything to add?
Yeah, I think Kate hit the nail on the head. I feel like Stetson, when I think of Stetson, I think of scrap ball. I think they are gritty. And like you were saying, they're another team. Georgia State were the queens of the upsets last year, but Stetson's historically been the queens of the NCAA championship upset. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to make another late run, similar to the way that they have in the past. And starting out with an upset is always a great way to start. And it looks like, too, looking at these stats here, that their 3s and 5s were really the pair that consistently got it done for them. So having a consistent 3s and 5s, having that consistent mid to lower lineup, depth is always good for a team. I think that was a general theme of last year that we saw, is that a lot of the wins weren't necessarily just done at the 1s and the 2s. We see the 3s, 4s, 5s. When teams are strongest, it's when they're strongest at their 3s, 4s, and 5s. So Stetson already showing that they have that is a really cool place to be in.
So the 3s are Audrey Gauthier, a Canadian, and Gabriella Bramante, and their 5s are Lauren Della and Kennedy Warren. And they were pretty solid all week, and they're the ones that are tipping the scales Stetson's way in their duels. So they really kicked it in. I'm assuming it was a 3-court setup. So they were 1-3-5. They were the second wave of of flights that were going at it. So they were the ones that are the decisive duels, or matches. Let's jump back out to the West Coast, so to speak, and another team that is taking care of business. Unfortunately, she's missing tonight, the Arizona Sandcats. And looking at how they got it done this weekend, they are 4-0. But if you notice that the number 3 pairs, none other than Alana Rennie and Grace Cook, her partner, are 4-0, and they were dominating this weekend. We'll start with the fellow Pac-12 team or opponent in Charlie, and thoughts on Arizona's performance this last weekend.
Honestly, I was excited. I was excited for any Pac-12 team that won, to be honest. Like, as much as I want to beat other Pac-12 teams, I'm always excited to see the Pac-12 succeed. And Arizona is no exception to that rule. And so seeing them get it done, seeing a fellow Viral Volley cast member, seeing Alana get it done so consistently. And again, Arizona is another team that you look at similar to Stetson. Like, they were 4-0. Their jobs were getting done consistently at the 3s and 5s. Like, Alana was putting up her 4-0 wins. Their 5s pair of Miranda Arrow and Annie Cost, they were also 4-0. And so that's a really cool thing to see. Again, that depth in the lineup is what's getting the job done for everybody else. And so I don't know. I know that their 1s pair of Alex Parkhurst and Sarah Blackard, they looked really awesome this weekend too. I think Arizona's a team that's definitely maybe a little bit slept on this year. And so I think that they're going to be able to have some upsets coming up soon.
Yeah. Kate, anything to add on the Atlanta's Arizona Sandcats?
Yeah, I mean, I'm stoked for Elena, and we don't get to see Arizona much. But from what I do see, Arizona's always a contender. So I'm excited to continue watching them, see how they do in the Pac-12, and yeah.
Well, the other team that went 4-0 for the Sandcats are their 5s pair of Miranda Arrow and Annie Cost. So I don't know, Charlie, could be a different looking Pac-12 this year.
Well, see, I know that the thing that I'm really excited about always in playing in the Pac-12, and I'm sure Kate too, playing just in general, I feel like the CCSA conference in Pac-12, we have there's this awesome depth in conference that anytime you go to a conference tournament, you know that you're kind of fighting out to the death with these other schools because of the fact that it's just such a high level of competition. So I don't know. I think upping the playing field with Pac-12s, having Arizona being such a talented team, having everybody in the Pac-12 being so talented only raises the bar and raises the level of playing. So it's awesome.
Well, let's jump back to the East Coast this time. And this was a pretty big one. Coastal Carolinas, the Chanticleers. I mean, pretty amazing upsets. They take down Cal Poly, then they take down Washington. I don't know a whole bunch about the team except for a little birdie in my DM and Instagram saying, hey, you need to see what's happening with Coastal Carolina. I'm not going to reveal my source, but it just is hilarious how I even discovered the result. And I started watching it real time. Like, wow, this is happening. What do you guys know about Coastal Carolinas? And we'll start with you, Kate, being that it's closer to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think Coastal Carolina, they've always been one of those teams that you can see they're building, and each year they're building. And I think it's really cool that this year, I think they had beaten Cal Poly 3-2, and it's wow, that's an amazing upset. Obviously they're on everybody's radar, but sometimes one upset you can kind of be like, oh, maybe they were lucky, but then they beat Washington also. So then, they're not lucky and there's somebody to contend with. And I think it's really awesome to see them in the top 20, and they earned that spot and they deserve that spot. So I'm always happy to see other teams get their chance and get to shine. So I'm really happy that they're getting the recognition that they deserve from such a great performance this weekend. So we got to keep an eye out for them this season.
Well, that's one of those landmark wins. That is the first time that Coastal Carolina has been in any of the College Beach Volleyball top 20 poll or the ABCA poll. So, they're celebrating out there in Coastal Carolina, which is great for beach volleyball. So, Charlie, anything to add on Coastal Carolina from this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just said it there, Rob. Them being nationally ranked for the first time, and not just nationally ranked in one poll, they're nationally ranked in both the ABCA and the College Beach VB poll. So that's something to say, like that's an awesome feat in and of itself. They're awesome. I met two of their players at the Pairs National Championship in fall. We like shared a table as it's pouring rain in the players' tent. So we were all kind of crowding for tables, and we shared a table with Coastal Carolina, and we're kind of mutually cheering each other on. And that was probably one of the earlier times, like I knew of Coastal Carolina, but didn't know too much about them. And so that was the first time that I kind of got to actively see them. And I mean, I think that they're going to be a team to watch. I think them entering these polls, it goes back and speaks to the depth of NCAA beach volleyball in general. We're seeing more and more names enter and exit the polls than we've ever seen before. It's really cool that we've got this much talent in the sport of beach volleyball now.
Yeah. You know, looking through the boxes for Coastal Carolina this last weekend, the pairs that were getting it done, their threes pair, Maddie Lichty and Sarlota Svobodova, and Madison Allred, you may recognize the last name, and her partner, Rachel Ehlers. So be on the lookout for the Chanticleers. So yeah, you know, there's a lot of new teams coming in, but I wanted to ask you two as athletes, you know, we're seeing the 3s through 5s really become the difference makers in these duels already. That makes for an exciting season in my eyes, but I want to get your guys' take as the athletes that are competing. And let's start with you, Kate, on your thoughts on these deep flights that are the ones that are deciding duels and getting the big wins.
I think as we know, each flight is the exact same importance. So 5, even though it's 5, it holds the same importance as 1. And I mean, when you're at the 1s and 2s, you never know who you're going to play, what can happen. So I think really having a solid 3s, 4s, and 5s that you can count on and like you have trust in is really crucial. As Charlie mentioned earlier, in previous years, the teams that are the most successful are the ones with the most depth down the lineup. So I think we're seeing that even more and more with just how duels will come down to the 5s, they'll come down to the 4s. And I think really being able to have a strong lineup from top to bottom is really critical if you're trying to win games. You can't have any throw seeds. You should really have confidence in all of your pairs. And I mean, starts with 5. So yeah, I think it's really cool to see duels come down to the 5s.
All right, good stuff. Charlie, thoughts?
Couldn't agree more. I mean, again, I feel like it speaks to the depth and speaks to the strength of a team when you have strength at the 3s, 4s, 5s. I think you see in NCAA beach volleyball and really at most schools that you're going to have talent at the 1s and 2s. Like that's pretty common across the board that the 1s and 2s are going to be able to put up a super solid level of competition, regardless of what school is coming out there. I think once you see that solid level of talent, that solid strength is coming in at the 3s, 4s, 5s is when you start to see teams who are coming in and competing for national championship tournaments, because that's what it comes down to is if you put up 5 good pairs that can win, like Kate was saying, everybody's weight is the same. More points don't go to the 1s for winning the 1s. More points don't go to the 2s for winning the 2s. Like everybody's weighted equally, which I think is such a cool piece of beach volleyball. So when you have strong 3s, 4s, and 5s, like you're unstoppable.
Yep. Well, the ABCA poll came out, I believe it was yesterday, and it was after I'd updated my data I sent to you guys, but basically there's no shifting up through 8, I believe, or 9, with the 9th team being Stanford. So that's UCLA 1, Florida State 2, TCU 3, USC 4, LSU 5, Grand Canyon at 6, LMU at 7, Georgia State at 8, Stanford 9, and Hawaii 10. From beyond there, it's like a shuffle of the deck. And with Cal Stetson, Georgia State, FIU.
Sorry, Rob. I think that's a different poll.
ABCA.
No, ABCA is different. We're up at number 7 now. Stanford is on ABCA.
Ooh, I believe I clicked on the preseason then. Let me go back to February 28th. Oh, I stand corrected, up to 7. Oh, see, I told you this data was coming out hot and I didn't get out to everyone. So for the most part, yeah, there was a lot of shifting. We'll just say from 8 on. But one of the teams I wanted to talk about that, although they had 2 losses this week, you got to look at Long Beach State because they lost 3-2 to USC and Grand Canyon. And we all know both of those teams are good. And it came down to the last court on all those duels. Something to be excited about for Big West and Long Beach State, or what's your take on it, you guys?
I think I was actually following those duels, and I really think Long Beach State is somebody to watch out for. Like you said, they went 3-2 with the 4 and 6 ranked school. So yeah, their record says 0-2, but it came down, it was close matches. I think they're going to get their chance against big schools again, which will be really cool to see. And I'm really excited to see what they do. But I definitely think that they're a great West Coast school that is going to do big things this season.
Yep. Charlie, what's your take?
Yeah, I might even go so far as to say that Long Beach State is still underranked. They're in at the AVCA poll at 14, and I think they're in at the College Beach VB poll at 14 as well. And I could be wrong. I'm double checking that before I am correct. They're in at 14 at both polls. And while we see a lot of talent in the top 15 schools, I think that Long Beach State might be a little bit undervalued for really how talented they are. Like, putting up a 3-2 win on USC, or a 3-2 loss on USC, is still a very respectable game. I think that most people, like, again, with the historically how strong USC is, with how big of a name that is, you take off 2 matches in a duel against USC, and that's a good look for your program. So Long Beach State definitely should not be messed around with this season. They're out for some good stuff.
All good stuff. I wanted to focus on our 3 other teams here, LSU and Florida State, and my other one to keep an eye on. And Atlanta is proving to be either have great premonition, because she's picked Washington and everything, like player of the week, Chloe Lorene, Natalie Robinson, and Washington upsetting people and doing well. Well, you got Chloe Lorene and Natalie Robinson as the AVCA pair of the week, and they did have some big wins. But let's go to the East Coast teams, Florida State and LSU, whom Kate is going to be very familiar with, if not by wearing one of the team's uniforms, be seeing them a lot this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very, very familiar with both Florida State and LSU. I think LSU, they have their ones pair of Kylie DeBerg and Ellie Shank, which, as we saw in the fall, they're a great pair. They won the national championship in Huntsville, so I'm really excited to see them play against other big schools this season. And then, yeah, they have depth down the lineup. I think their twos is Grace Seitz and Parker Bracken, Parker finished at 1s last year and Grace finished at 4s. So that's an experienced pair. I'm excited to see what they do. I think they also played together this fall in that Huntsville tournament. Yep. And then threes is Riley Allred, Hannah Brister. Riley Allred's always been a great player, great defender. And then Hannah Brister, we haven't seen much of her, but I think she's a big, tall blocker that they always have the great blockers, so that work really well with their defenders. And then their 4s and 5s, we're seeing some new faces, so I'm excited to, get a good look at LSU. I know we're going to be playing them a lot this season, but they're always a really competitive team. Russell really gets them ready to go for season, so I'm really excited to see what they do this season.
How about your take on LSU, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Kate's been hitting the nail on the head pretty solidly all night. LSU is always a fun team to watch. I think that they're up there. Like, they're historically a powerhouse school. They did their job this last weekend. So honestly, I kept looking at like stats from them and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, LSU is doing their thing. Which is awesome. I mean, it's kind of similar to the way that I was looking at the stats with you, Kate. Once you hit 100 wins, I was like, yeah, she's pretty sick. I get it. But it was awesome. I mean, LSU, again, we saw them win the pairs championship this fall. They've got a really solid 1s and 2s, like you were saying, and with their building and their lower lineup, LSU is one of those schools last year who we saw the most strength in their 3s, 4s, 5s. So I'm intrigued because right now I feel like we're seeing a lot of strength in their 1s, 2s, 3s. And I'm intrigued to see with those 4s, 5s, with the mix-ups, with the new faces, how they kind of adjust to the new scene that is LSU beach volleyball. Given that additional shout out to my girl, Grace Seitz. She and I played club volleyball together since we were like 14. And I know that she's been putting in the work for a lot of years. She came on pretty fresh to the scene of beach volleyball, was a big indoor player to start. But I think that she's kind of one of those like similar stories to what we see out of a lot of LSU beach volleyball players. She was a little bit more beachy than a lot of the grad transfers that they end up taking in. But something that we see that LSU does really well is taking these really big blockers, pairing them with super highly talented defenders, and creating fantastic pairs. I mean, like, just to name one, like, super unheard of pair, but Taryn Cloth and Kristen Nuss, like, they are a pair that historically is one of the best pairs to come out of NCAA beach volleyball. And they're doing amazing things for Team USA national team. So LSU clearly knows what they're doing. So they're, with no doubt, going to be a force to be reckoned with this year.
Well, I want to jump over to FSU, your former team here, Kate. So why don't you start us off with what we should expect to see from them, even though they kind of took an unexpected loss to the reigning ABCA pair of the week, just in one duel.
Oh yeah, they're one.
It was a barn burner third set, 2018.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw those scores. FSU, they're always going to be good. Having Brooke and Nick, they'll get them ready for season. They'll be prepared. They do a lot of hard work in the off season, a lot of mental preparation. So I know that they're going to be great this season. I'm really excited to see them play. We're going to be at the same tournament as them this week. We play them on Sunday. They have Maddie Anderson, Paige Kalkoff at the ones. I was on a team with Maddie for 3 years. She's amazing. We all know she's great blocker. I haven't seen Paige play too much, but when I did see her, she's a great dynamic defender. So I'm excited to see that pair. That's a new pair. I'm excited to see them. And then the twos, we have Raylan White, Alexis Durish. I played with Raylan for a while last season, and she's a great, smart player, very long arms, very technically sound. So she's hard to beat. And then their threes is Jordan Polo, Anna Long. I also played with Anna last season, and she's a really, really great dynamic blocker. So I'm excited to see what those two do. And then their fours and fives, I think those ones were switching around, but I know that they have a lot of depth and they have a lot of great players. So I don't know what their lineup is going to be this week, but I know that they're always coming in hot. So I'm excited to see them this season.
All right, Charlie, what say you?
I think a general theme like that I'm seeing a lot with a lot of these top tier teams is that there's a super heavily talented freshman pool this year. Heavier talent than I feel like years past, like, not to talk down on that many classes prior, but I mean, even looking at the skill that's coming out of this freshman class, like kind of across the board nationally, like we've seen very good pockets of freshmen in the past, but I feel like across the board, we're seeing a lot of talent in the freshman class. And I think FSU is like another school that's using freshmen super wisely. They've got, I know one of their freshmen, Cara Sasek, she was partners in juniors with one of my teammates, Ashley Vincent. I saw them over the summer. She was super talented. And I think she was paired up at the fours for a little bit with another freshman. And there was maybe one other freshman in the lineup for FSU, but then they've got this like super, super talented pool of upperclassmen as well. And it's funny to call Anna Long an upperclassman because I remember she was a freshman with you last year, Kate. But she's also, I feel like, because of the fact that she was thrown in and had this like wisdom to the game coming in as such a young player, now she feels like she's been around for a while, even though she's only been around a year. So I think FSU is doing some pretty awesome things with their lineup, and they're, again, like another force to be reckoned with. I feel like that's like the theme, is all of these schools are forces to be reckoned with.
Well, the final team, we're going to go West Coast, is Washington. And obviously they've been doing it at the number ones with Chloe Lorene and Natalie Robinson. But if you look through the stats for their team, it looks like their twos and fives, they split this weekend, but they were critical in getting those upsets. And we may recognize one of the athletes, Tegan DeFalco and Shannon Gormally. Tegan DeFalco transferred from Grand Canyon, steps into the five spot, played in the ones and twos for Grand Canyon, but making a difference in that. And it's in the five spot. So like we were talking about, the deeper in the flights now is making the difference in these duels. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out the rest of the season as the teams start really getting together and mending together and forming like a knowledge of their pairings and who's going to get those wins from knowing or becoming more familiar with their teammates. So yeah, still way too early.
I feel
Go
like
ahead.
looking at Washington, I mean, Coach Derek Olson, he has done an absolutely incredible thing with the Washington program. He's taken a program that's historically been unranked, they've been a developmental program for years, and he's turning them into a program that is nationally ranked, that will stay in these national rankings, that is here to compete. With so many grad transfers, with so many transfers in, I think a lot of people are like, hey, I want to play for Derek because I know that he's going to be doing some incredible things. And seeing how much this team has improved over the years has been very cool to see. I mean, Alana called it that they were kind of the team to watch this season because we were all anticipating that they were going to be very solid. And also to say, I feel like we were on the theme of like career moments, and Natalie Robinson of the National Pair of the Week of Chloe and Natalie. Natalie became the all-time wins leader for UW. She has 68. She finished, I don't know if she's past that now, she might be, but with 68 career beach wins, she became the all-time wins leader for UW. So that's huge. And I mean, they're a very talented pair. They are awesome to watch. They're an awesome team that plays. So I think that that's something that should not go unsaid. Like, UW is doing a great job with their program, and they are going to stay in the rankings from, I hope, here on out.
Well, I know that we have gone really long, but it's because it's week one and there is a lot that happened. I can't remember a time where there's been these many milestones accomplished with upsets, and there's been such a shifting, but it just goes to speak to how much talent is going deeper into that, the AVCA and the College Beach VB polls. I mean, because you're seeing these teams that have been traditionally bubble teams breaking into that top 20, which is exciting to see. Not fun if you're hanging in the teens and you get knocked out, but that's part of the excitement here. And then you're seeing the shift in we'll call it the second tier of teams from 4 on, and that's just a dogfight in a big kind of way. So with that, I wanted to find out what you guys are gonna be watching this week. And I know Alana will be watching probably the same ones as Charlie. So but I'm curious, Kate, go ahead and start off. What duels you'll be watching or tournaments you'll be watching this weekend? Because there's a lot.
I'd say the main two I'll be watching is the Pac-12. It's the Pac-12 South, right, Charlie? So
Yep.
that one has a lot of great teams. I know UCLA, USC will be there, Stanford, Cal, and then I think a few more. So
Arizona, Atlanta will be there.
Okay, I
Arizona
wasn't sure
State,
the
Utah.
Pac-12 teams will be there. Is it all the Pac-12 teams? Oh, okay.
It's 2 sites. It's at USC Merle Norman Stadium.
Okay.
Both will be going on both days. So,
Okay.
but I think not everyone will go to each other's site. I think I only see you on one day at Mapes at UCLA, Charlie, and same with Atlanta.
Yes. So we go, our days are, we're at USC the first day and UCLA the second day. I think it's cool that they're splitting it between both the LA sites. I don't know why we haven't necessarily done that in the past when we run a Pac-12 South out of LA, because I feel like the timing just goes quicker that way. But yeah, so all the Pac-12 schools will be there. It'll be fun. It's always fun when all the Pac-12 schools get together. There's bound to be some heated competitions this weekend there. I think in addition to that, I'm going to be watching the Best of the West tournament with Cal Poly, Hawaii, and Long Beach State, because Long Beach State, again, team that we were just saying should not be slept on. Hawaii, a team that we were saying is super scrappy. They're great in wind. I just played them this weekend in some of the grittiest wind conditions that I've played in a long time. It was blowing like 20 to 25 miles an hour on the beach, and they were doing great things. And Cal Poly is another team that dropped out of the rankings in the last week, but we also know that Cal Poly is not a team to get out of thought. Like, they do great things. Coach Todd Rogers is notoriously fantastic at putting together a great program. So that's a trio of schools that will be really fun to watch. And then I think my last one, I mean, Kate, you've mentioned this a couple times, but there's this tournament that I hear that's going on in Tampa with a lot of good competition. There's FSU, there's TCU, there's Tampa, there's Georgia State, Florida Gulf Coast, GCU, Stetson. They're all in the same site. And I know that you had mentioned that you don't play all the teams, but I think that that's going to be like a huge East Coast tournament to watch that I'm very excited to stay tuned on.
Yeah, and now GCU is kind of part of the East Coast. now that they joined the CCSA. So I guess we'll claim them now.
I mean, we were willing to claim them on the West Coast,
I
but
know, but
decided to go east.
Now, that
Yeah.
Tampa tournament is going to be a gauntlet. I guess they'll put you guys in pools, so you're not going to see everyone that weekend, right? Is
Yeah.
that correct, Kate?
Yeah, I don't think they're doing pools. I think everybody's just playing 4 duels, I think. And because we're playing Georgia State, Florida Gulf Coast, Florida State, and Tampa. But I know Florida State is playing Grand Canyon too. So I
Mhm.
think it just depended on maybe, I don't know, who, if you're playing later in season and what they had time for. But yeah, not everybody's gonna be playing each other, but it'll still be cool there'll be a lot of good matches to keep up with. So
Yeah. Well, I wanted to mention the best in the West that Charlie mentioned because that's going to feature Hawaii, Long Beach State, and Cal Poly. However, the site is pretty historical because back in the 80s, the Laguna, actually even longer than that, Laguna Beach was the main scene for beach volleyball. They had their Laguna Beach Open going as far back as 56 years, if my data is right. But a few people on a committee have said, let's bring it back and let's do it this way. And the AVP is stepping in to stream all the duels. So go to Best in the West VB, look them up on Instagram. They also have a website, but I believe it'll be free streaming. And I spoke to some of the people who are coordinators of this event. They want to try and get this to be a regular thing. And it's not put on by a university. It's by this group of volleyball fans who want to see volleyball come back to Laguna Beach and hopefully get it bigger and bigger. Now, the beach is limited if you've been to Laguna Beach in a long time, but that beach is disappearing. But they can get 4, 5, 6 courts out there, which would be 2 duels going concurrently. So definitely one to watch. And I will personally be at Pac-12 at the MAPE site on the MC host mics. So I'm looking forward to seeing not only Charlie and Alana, but the entire rest of the Pac-12 crew that's come on. Jade Whitmarsh, our spot guest every once in a while, and a few of the gals on SC as well, Megan and Delaney. So looking forward to all the action, but I want to see what's happening at that Tampa tournament, Kate. If you find out,
I'll let you know if there's a live
Yeah.
stream. Their courts might live stream. I'm not fully sure, but I'll let you
Yeah.
know.
So with that concludes week 1, which is a long episode. I'm so sorry I kept everyone longer, but like I said, there's a lot going on. We'll get this dialed in. So we're right around 30, 40 minutes per week. And that's Kate Privett of TCU and Charlie Ekstrom of Stanford. We're missing Alana Rennie of Arizona this week, but we'll have her back on next week. So be sure to follow these athletes on the screen, their programs, NCAA volleyball. Go to their websites, show the easiest way to support them, getting them clicks on their websites or visiting their social, because people do track that information and that helps grow the game. So Charlie, Kate, thank you so much. And we'll chat next week for episode 2.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Aspero at the Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.